live from the 704 once again for episode 39 of the 815 Exchange. And ladies and gentlemen, it was a very interesting week in sports and entertainment as per usual, with the big event of course being the NFL draft, and that is going to be my first topic of the week of the episode. Plenty to talk about there. But before I start, as always, timestamps are in the description. If you're looking for a particular topic, the MLB, the NBA, whatever it is, feel free to go to the description, hit on the timestamp, take you right to it. My social medias, as always, are also in the description. If you're looking to follow me on Twitter, I tweeted a bunch during the draft. There you go. You can find me there. And remember, as always, like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Run the numbers up on that. Helps grow the channel, helps me do some more things with the channel. So feel free to do that if you would like. But let's not waste any more time here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get straight to it. This might be a faster episode. The NFL draft. As a Dallas Cowboy fan, I can't lie, it was very stressful part one to the draft. And really throughout, it felt like we had the players that we truly want to get picked right before us. But first round, we're going to start off here. J.C. Horn went 8th to the Panthers, which I don't hate. I don't hate for them. It's a good pick. He was tied with Pat Surtain for my first, my favorite cornerback in this class. So I was like, all right, maybe we'll get Pat, right? Well, Pat goes to the Broncos, which I don't understand. And I guess the Broncos are going all in on Drew Lock and Joe Flacco as their quarterbacks, which, I personally probably wouldn't have made that choice, but they went with Pat Surtain, helps improve that defense. And, the Cowboys were left with, the scraps here, but we traded back with the Eagles and shafted the Giants again. The Eagles go and get Devonta Smith, which again adds to more pressure of why we needed to address cornerback in the secondary in this class. So the Giants end up trading back from 11, and then we, of course, at the 12th pick, we go and get who I think is the best linebacker, who many people think might possibly be the best defensive prospect in this draft, and that is Micah Parsons. So can't really complain as a Cowboys fan. End up working out. We got Micah. Sean Lee just retired this past week, so replaced him with another Penn State linebacker. Must always be a Penn State linebacker, I guess, in the Cowboys. But no complaints there. Of course, if we go to the top of the draft, as widely expected, no surprises. Trevor Lawrence goes number 1. Zach Wilson goes number 2. But number 3, there was a lot of discussion about the 49ers pick and who were they going to pick at the 3rd pick. Many people thought it was Mac Jones after we'd heard all of this smoke about Mac Jones being the pick. Well, it was Trey Lance. And even though I had discussion with some other people, I had Justin Fields, as many of you know, as my 2A or my number 2 quarterback in the draft class. I completely understand why they went with Trey Lance here. They have Jimmy Garoppolo. They seem satisfied. Shanahan seems satisfied with what Garoppolo's done so far, and having him as their quarterback. They want a developmental guy. So they went and got the highest potential development quarterback in the draft with Trey Lance. And we all know, I've talked about it on here, Lance has huge upside. And being in that situation works. They already got that defense. 49ers have weapons. It's a good situation. It's probably the best situation he could have landed in, if I'm being honest. So credit there. Justin Fields ends up going to the Bears. They traded up with the Giants for that 11th pick. Again, love that pick for the Bears. They needed a franchise quarterback. They needed to move on from Mitch, and they planned on doing that. They brought in Andy Dalton, but we knew he wasn't the long-term fix. So they went, and franchise quarterback fell to him. I think Fields is going to be great there. Might take a while. He might struggle at first, but I think Fields is the guy. He's the answer. And Mac Jones, of course, falls to the Patriots. Because, of course, one of the quarterbacks were going to fall to the Patriots, and, of course, it was Mac. I'm not looking forward to having to hear the Tom Brady comparisons over and over again. It's going to get incredibly tiring. But Mac Jones just kind of makes sense. I think I tweeted this out. Mac Jones is a Patriot. Just makes sense. It just makes sense. It makes sense. Later on, moving on here in the draft, if we go all the way down to the 6th round on Saturday, had some interesting developments. We had 2 long snappers go in the 6th round, which was coupled with the big news of people sliding down the draft boards like Dylan Moses, who went undrafted. After being on the cover of ESPN Mag at 15, Dylan Moses goes undrafted. We had Trey Smith of Tennessee, very talented player, slide down the boards, slide down the draft because of his blood clot concerns. We had some great names. I have to say this. We had some phenomenal names in the draft. We had Rashad Wildgoose, quarterback from Wisconsin. We had Divine Diablo. We had Cameron Cheeseman. We had Racy McMath. There was some phenomenal. This is one of the best names, one of the best name drafts I think I can remember. There was just some wild, absolutely wild names coming off the board. And yeah, I mean, it was a very good NFL draft. I think a lot of teams improved. I mentioned the Bears. I think the Panthers had a good draft besides J.C. Horn. They got Terrence Marshall. Went in the 4th round, they got Chuba Hubbard, who I think I said, well, I'm not sure if I said on here, but was my kind of X factor running back prospect. Even though I know there's some areas where he needs to polish up and get better at. Dude still ran for 2,000 yards, can't erase that. Him being behind CMC is great for the Panthers. Love that situation for them. Going down the line here, Detroit. I love the way Detroit worked through this draft. They have an identity. They have a clear identity that they want to establish, and they went for it. The Bengals picked Jamar Chase. Was an interesting one. It was a it was a choice. It was a choice. You know, with Penei Sewell there, who ends up going to the Lions, and you need to protect Burrow. You have to protect Burrow. You have to. I know they went back and they addressed the line. You know, same thing. Jaguars got a little flack after they picked Etienne in the 1st round. They did go back and adjust the line. It was a very deep O-line class. There was a whole bunch of offensive line picked in this draft, by the way. Absolutely. I mean, that contributed to a lot of position players sliding because there were so many offensive linemen being picked early on. But, I mean, it may pay off. You know, if those later round guys the Bengals invested in, if they develop and they can be the answer to protect Burrow, if that works, that works. You get Jamar Chase, best receiver in the draft. We know what that connection can be with Burrow and Chase, what that has the potential to be one of the best in the league. So, it may work out. Again, like I said, love the Lions draft. Sewell in the 1st. Levi Owens, a rookie, in the 2nd. Alan McNeil in the 3rd. They went and got Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the most polished receivers, I believe, in the draft fight on. They went and got him in the 4th. That could be a steal. Lions did a good job. Did a great job. You know, had a clear direction. Went for the physicality route. Hey, worked. Got what they were looking for. Another team that had a great draft was the Chargers. Again, another team that just seemed like everything they needed, everything they wanted kind of fell to them. Rashawn Slater is a great offensive line prospect. Probably the number 2 offensive line prospect, if we're being honest. He went at 13. They got him some protection for Justin Herbert. That's huge. Again, got a protected young quarterback. They were able to get Josh Palmer in the 3rd, Asante Samuel Jr. in the 2nd. Did a great job clearing up some holes over there in Los Angeles. It still feels kind of weird. Again, San Diego fans, I'm so sorry that this is how this ended up for you, but it is what it is. Also in the 1st round, I have to say, Jamin Davis, Washington football team. Could be kind of well, not really underrated. A lot of people liked it. But I saw some people kind of down. That could be an underrated pick there. We know about that defense that Washington has, and getting a guy like Jamin Davis who fits right in there into that linebacker corps, and what he can do with that defensive line already established and already able to wreak havoc at the level they can, that could be big. That could be big. That could really help elevate this Washington team, who I honestly think are possibly a quarterback and a few more pieces on offense away from really starting to make some noise in that NFC. Certainly they're one of the tougher teams in the NFC East, which is chaotic as always. But yeah, that was the NFL draft. Very, very, very interesting draft. A lot of interesting choices made. I'm very excited about this quarterback class. Really just very excited about this draft class in general. And seeing how they play. Very excited to see them play. And seeing how they all kind of, all balances out. Trevor Lawrence probably going to lose more games than he ever has in his life this year. But I'm very interested to see how he plays for that Jaguars team. And just kind of down the line, a lot of some of the late round guys want to see who steps up. We have it happen all the time, every year. So, 2020 NFL Draft. You tell me how you thought about your team selections and if you liked your draft, if you liked your draft class. Just feel free to leave me your thoughts. And maybe I'll put that in at the buzzer next episode. Who knows? Keeping on here, we're going to go over to the soccer world. We're going to go from football to football. Starting off, we have before I get to the Champions League and my predictions for this week's second leg of the semifinals, we're going to start off, of course, with some bigger news. The leagues are starting to wind down here as the European season gets towards its conclusion. Inter Milan breaks Juventus' 9-year streak of winning Serie A, and Inter wins the Scudetto. Shout out to Romelu Lukaku. You gotta love it for him. Big Rom finally gets a title. I know he won one back in Belgium, but this one bigger. Obviously, Serie A goes to Inter. Conte has done a fantastic job with that Inter Milan team and getting them back to the quality we expect Inter Milan to be at. And well-deserved win in the Serie A. They've been the best team in Italy. Ajax wins the Everdice. Class. It's Ajax. What do you expect? You expect great development players and them winning the Everdice, and they do just that. Shout out to Ajax for getting it done. Now, let's talk about the Champions League and the leagues. Well, the first leg of the semifinals, and of course that means we're going to start off with Real Madrid versus Chelsea. And my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, Timo has to work on his finishing. He does everything else pretty well. He's getting a bunch of assists this year, right? But he's got to be able to finish. They could have been up 2-1 or 3-1 if Timo finishes some of these chances that Mason Mount, who has been world class this season, in only his second season, he's taken a jump. It's incredible to watch Mount, one of the best young midfielders on the planet. Him and Pulisic just putting it on a platter for Timo, and Timo hasn't been able to finish. But speaking of Captain America himself, Christian Pulisic gets the goal to start us off here in Chelsea, Real Madrid. Karim Benzema, of course, I said they needed to build him a statue. You just know. He's the Rolls Royce, the Bentley of strikers. And he does it again, gets the goal to tie it up. However, Chelsea, of course, leads currently on away goals as we were playing in Madrid. It's going to be a very interesting second leg. I don't think Chelsea needs to take off the gas, even though they have the tie up, and they should play with some caution and not play too reckless, especially defensively. You cannot, I think, as we all know, you just can't let up in the Champions League and think you're just going to sit on a lead the entire way. It's not how this works. You can and you possibly will concede, especially a team like Real Madrid with the type of players they have. If they apply the pressure, they could crack. I wouldn't sit on it. And I expect Tuchel, I'm very interested to see what type of lineup, what type of tactics Tuchel comes out with, because he's been great so far in his Chelsea tenure. Moving on, we had in the next day, we have Man City versus PSG, the Abu Dhabi, or whatever you want to call it. PSG, hot start. Marquinhos, header, they look good, they look dominant. Neymar and Mbappe were starting to make runs, and then it just fell apart. It absolutely just fell apart. KDB scored a miracle, an accidental push winner. Mahrez puts him over the top. The way that PSG collapsed in that second half was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And I have to question Pac. I didn't understand why he didn't make substitutions earlier. It seemed like they got too complacent. PSG got too complacent, and then Man City just applied pressure. And once again, PSG folded. They folded. It's what they've done here in the Champions League. Even though they've gotten further and further every year, they continue to fold when it matters and here when it matters. When you had it in your hands, you folded, and you were at Paris, so now you're done 2-1. You have to score 2-3 goals here. I think it's 2 to get by, and that's going to be tough against this Man City team. I think PSG blew it, if I'm being honest. I think Man City eases by. They possibly get a 2-3 goal game, and they just break PSG here, and they move on. Fully expected. Chelsea, Real Madrid, don't really know, but I think Man City moves on. They have to be the favorites, I think, right now with how they're playing, with how Pep's coaching this team to win the Champions League and get their first ever Champions League title. I think they got to be the favorites. Fully expect them to trounce PSG in the second leg, but we will see. And to end off the soccer section here, in English football, of course, ever since 2 weeks ago when the Super League was announced, and we had those theatrics, and we had my rant, and we had all the news on social media and the boycotts. Well, we had a major boycott yesterday. Manchester United and Liverpool were supposed to face at Old Trafford. Man U supporters broke into Old Trafford, staged a protest. Game got canceled. That's huge. That's huge. Not something I can ever recall ever happening in English football, and it's massive. A massive statement by the supporters to make that point that they want the Glazers gone. They want a new change of ownership. They believe that these owners do not have the best intentions of the football club. And I mean, with the decisions they made, how can you blame them? How can you blame the Man U fans for feeling that way? How can you blame the Liverpool fans who joined in some instances, against Fenway? How can you blame them with some of the decisions that have been made, i.e. the Super League, among other things, and how that must make them feel? So, shout out to them. Congrats on the boycott. Well, not the boycott, but the protest. It was an effective one. We'll see if the message was sent loud and clear. It was all over the media airways, so we'll see. But yeah, that was soccer. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head over to the entertainment specter, which is mostly TV and music this week. We're going to go over there. And of course, we're going to start off with some TV. And of course, I have to start off with, and of course, spoiler alert for those watching. Spoiler alert, close your ears, skip ahead, do what you gotta do. I'm talking about Vincenzo and Invincible in this case, so feel free to skip ahead, do what you gotta do. I'll give you a little bit of time to do that. Alright. Vincenzo, Invincible, which one should I start? I'll start off with Invincible. Invincible episode 8, my goodness. Mark versus Nolan. Finally happened. It finally went down. It's been teased the entire season, but it finally went down. And my goodness, what an episode! Episode 8 ended up being because of it. Some of the most gruesome, disturbing scenes I have ever seen in an animated show, and probably just in television in general, happened in this episode. Mostly referring to, let's see, I mean, honestly don't even know where to start. Because pretty much just all of Nolan's beatdown of Mark really could qualify as disturbing / just messed up. Train scene, I guess that's the big one. The train scene, I've never in my life seen anything like that scene in my life. And him having to, he held his son up just to prove a point. Held him up like this, and just the train, it was, no words. Also, the scene where Mark tries to save the people in the building, and then when it crashes down, he pulls up an arm. It was not a great day for Mark Grayson, but he got the truth, and that was important. That's what he needed to see. He needed to get the truth from his father about Viltrum and what they were and what his purpose was. And yeah, it was very interesting to see Omni-Man finally come out, show his true colors, show his true purpose, and how he felt. Tried to convince Mark to leave and just kind of abandon the planet and take over, but didn't happen. And Omni-Man is the first Viltrumite to ever abandon their post, so we'll see how that storyline goes. We saw the aliens show up, and again, we saw Rogan doing a great job. Stephen Yeun did a great job in this episode voicing Mark. Fantastic job there. saw the Guardians of the Galaxy really start to come into their own in this episode and come together as a team. It's going to be interesting though. Can't wait for season 2. Can't wait. Of course, it got renewed for season 2 and for season 3. Hopefully, they already got started with it because I know animation can take a long time. But yeah, Invincible. Can't wait for more. I'm going to read the comics here, and see kind of where the storyline goes. I know it's a little bit different, though they're still pretty faithful to the source material. I know. But yeah, Invincible, one of the best shows on television. I've said it for, 6 to 5 weeks now. Probably like 5 weeks since day one. Listen, if you're not watching Invincible, go do that. It will enhance your life. Please do that. Vincenzo, I talked about it last week. What a show. What a show. What a show. What a fulfilling end to that show as well. Because K-dramas don't usually get a season 2. Usually just that one season and they have that little conclusion. But I guess we'll see. It's been very widely received. It's now the 9th highest rated K-drama of all time. So there's that. But my goodness, Vincenzo, stay true. Stay true to it. Stay true to who he was. I love that. I love how they went about that. And yeah, after Chae Young gets shot, we saw how it all went down. Han-seo gets killed by Han-seok. And it just kind of all dwindled from there. It just all went down from there for all 3 of them. Han-seo, I guess he was eventually part of the 4, but you know, we got to see his redemption arc. We got to see Vincenzo embrace him as family and called him. Told him, you deserve to be my brother, and a lot of respect for that. And then yeah, Vincenzo hunted them down meticulously, one by one. Seung-hyuk, his backstabbing and his lying and his going back and forth on people eventually caught up to him as he got sold out, and then he got assassinated at the court. Then Myung-hee, that was another instance of some of the most gruesome. Both these TV shows that ended this week had some of the most gruesome scenes I've seen in television. I don't know what it was. It was just and they were some of the best shows I've seen probably this year and seen in a while. That's crazy. Probably 2 of my favorite shows of all time, if I'm being honest. And they both had gruesome murder scenes. I don't know how that happened. But anyways, Myung-hee got justice. Mr. Cho and Vincenzo hunted her down. Then Vincenzo crushed her feet, put her in the tied her up to the chair. Well, she wasn't tied up. She was slightly tied up to the chair, I think. He doused her in gasoline, of course, and then with the lighter, the signature lighter, lit her on fire, played her some Zumba music for her to do her little dance routine while she burned to death. And yeah, he left from there. And then, of course, it was time for the finale. Jang Hyun-suk had his time coming, and it finally came. He got the needle of atonement, I believe, the nail of atonement. That was crazy. Set up the nail where it only comes forward 5 millimeters every 5 minutes. So he died in the most painful and most slow way possible. The man spent his last moments getting eaten alive by a crow as he bled to death after he had a nail go into him for the past 8 hours. It was insane, but it was justified. And then we have Vincenzo and Chae Young's storyline just kind of come together and come to a close, come to a conclusion. Well, not a conclusion, but well, I guess the conclusion for the show, right? He didn't call her, but she appeared, and yeah, they embraced. He left, came back a year later. Chae Young was back to doing Chae Young things and doing what Chae Young does and being a superstar in her own right. But he comes back for the embassy events, and they finally confess their love for each other. And he tells her all about Malta and how Vincenzo and the Cassano Mafia family have now taken over Malta and how they're moving there. So, I mean, if they want to do season 2, they have plenty of stuff to do it with, but we'll see. The cast was great. Great show. Vincenzo, highly recommended if you want to get into that spear. It was good. Very, very good. 21 Savage dropped Spiral. I forget which movie. If I'm being honest, I forget which movie this is supposed to be a song for, but 21 kills all these promotional songs. He kills all of them. He had the one from Mortal Kombat, I think a year ago or a year or two ago. That was great. I think it was a year ago. But That one was amazing, and then he did it again here with Spiral. Heat from 21 is what he does. Honestly, he's one of the most consistent rappers, I think. In terms of quality of output, he just always delivers. So, shout out for 21, that was Heat. Itzy dropped Guess Who, their mini album. I think it's their fifth mini album. Mafia in the Morning was the title track. It was one that grew on me, and now I can't stop playing it. The choreo was crazy. The music video was fire. Shouts to that music video guy. His transitions are always perfect. He has that set-defined style with the transitions that you know it's him every time, and it's so good. JYP, please keep employing him. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, Mafia in the Morning, Sorry Not Sorry, and Kidding Me, I think one of my favorites. But honestly, the whole thing was dope. The whole thing was very good. I give it a strong 9. Honestly, I give it a strong 9. It was very good mini album. So yeah, shout out to Itzy, shout out for the music video, a lot of great stuff there. And ladies and gentlemen, that was entertainment. Now we are going to move over to the NBA. Let's get to the NBA. Let's talk about some basketball, some shooty hoops. And the first thing to talk about here, of course, is that Boston versus San Antonio overtime game in which Boston came back down from 32 and Jayson Tatum dropped a 60 bomb. He went nuclear. I mean nuclear. 60 points for Tatum. Ty Larry Bird's field goals made in a game for the Celtics. If you're tying Larry Bird in anything, you must be doing something right. Tatum, I talked about it all year. I said he was that piece that Boston needed if they wanted to take that step up. And if they want to eventually contend for championships, JT has to become a superstar. And we are seeing it right now in front of our eyes. Tatum is becoming a superstar. He has been on fire for the past month. And yeah, 60 bomb, he's doing well. Celtics starting to get some momentum here. I know he had that collision with Jaylen Brown yesterday. Hopefully they're all right because, I mean, those are the two franchise players. And yeah, Celtics still fighting for some playoff position. But yeah, shout out to Tatum, shout out to the Duke guy. I mean, hey. And again, shout out to the Jayson Tatum song. You haven't looked it up, look up the Jayson Tatum song on YouTube. That is the national anthem. I forgot how much I played that song in 2016. Pull up, shoot, Jayson Tatum. Pacers take out OKC 152-95. Now I knew OKC was bad. I knew they weren't good. I know they were in the Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs sweepstakes. I knew they were big time a part of that. I did not know it was this bad where you get beat 152-95. If I calculate this correct, let's see. That's 5. That's 2. They got beat by 57 points. 57 points. Yeah, I was right. I just did the calculation, put up the calculator to make sure. 57 points. I think that's the largest, home loss in NBA history, or at least in a long amount of time. Sabonis had 26, 19, and 14. That's all you really need to know. Pacers kill OKC. Mavs and the Wizards played a very good game. One of the best games of the week. Mavs get it done 152-124. Luka with 31, 12, and 20. Again, 20 assist game, second man this season. Along with the guy he was playing to have a 30-point, 20 assist game. Russ had 42, 10, and 9. He's been great, but Bradley Beal in the clutch. He is in the scoring race, but he didn't show up clutch. He hasn't been very clutch at all this year. I think he's 0 for 4 or something on buzzer beaters. Well, missed a buzzer beater here. Honestly, Russ is one of the clutchest players in the game, so I'd have probably given it to Russ. Russ also had 42 in this game. Probably would have given that shot to Russ, but I digress. Luka and the Mavs get the win. They're the 4th seed, I think, in the West right now. So, yeah, shout out to the Mavs. You always hear them getting ragged on, and Rick Carlisle kind of getting a lot of flack. But they're the 4th seed in the West right now, 5th seed in the West. So, shout out. It's getting tight, but they're prevailing. Milwaukee and Brooklyn played each other yesterday, and it was a hell of a duel by two of the best players in the league, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Durant. The Greek Freak and KD went at it, but the Bucks got it done 117-114. Giannis had 49, KD had 42 and 10. Great duel between two of the best in the game. The Nets still showing that weakness that is apparent and made even more by the lack of LaMarcus Aldridge now. And that's the fact that it seems like any great big man is going to feast on the Nets. Might not be enough to beat them, honestly, in a 7-game series, I would doubt. Especially if Harden, KI, and KD can get healthy and they're playing together. I mean, it's unstoppable. But it seems like any major big man in the East got very good big men, like Embiid, like a Giannis, are going to go for 40, it seems like, every night because the Nets can do absolutely nothing about them. And yeah, great duel, great game. Milwaukee gets the win. I wouldn't expect. Again, Milwaukee performs here in the regular season, but when playoff time comes, you just know. You just expect for them to fold and not come together. They're like the PSG almost of the NBA. Get it done during the regular season, get it done all the way up there, but in those major moments, they're going to fold. Maybe Milwaukee pulls is different. Maybe they can knock off the Nets in the playoffs, but won't bet on it. And yesterday, I actually went to an NBA game. I went to the Hornets versus Heat game. Very good, had some good seats, enjoyed my time. Miami got the win over Charlotte. Bam did what he did. Jimmy did what he did. Bam had 20 and 10. Jimmy had 18 and 8. Hornets really showed their youth. There were some questionable foul calls, but it seemed like that got to them. They had an awful shooting night. A lot of turnovers. This wasn't the sharpest game, but Miami came to play, even though Duncan Robinson played awful. Real good team effort. Kendrick Nunn had a good game. Good stuff for Miami. Of course, both of the teams fighting for that play-in spot. Well, really for that play-in tournament and positioning there, trying to avoid it and trying to, kind of operate there as we wind down the season. Of course, the Lakers are slumping right now with Bron and AD back. They just haven't been fully integrated here, and it's probably been very frustrating as a Lakers fan to watch. Probably been very frustrating because the players are certainly frustrated. Play-in tournament, very weird concept, but I understand it in the sense that we have a shortened season, so I get it. Kind of trying to make it fair for those teams that, maybe if there was an 82-game season, maybe they would have made it with those extra games. So I understand the play-in tournament and it's necessary and its needs there. However, I don't really understand why, even though I don't know if it is, I don't think it's something that should be permanent because then it's like, what if I win the 8th seed by like 3-4 games? Why am I in a play-in tournament if I won it pretty decisively? So that's my opinion. Same thing with the 6th seed. If I'm the 6th seed and I beat the play-in tournament or the 7th seed, and I beat whoever was in 9th by like 10 games, why am I in the play-in tournament? You know what I mean? So it's kind of a weird, situation there, and I guess they'll clean it up if they do want to continue with it. But I don't see it having much purpose besides some of these shortened seasons like last year and this year. But we'll see what happens with the Lakers. They're fighting for their life. Got to get it together. Honestly, I don't see them getting out of the West. And that's not a hit on LeBron. Still think he's the best player in the world. It's not a hit on AD. I just think there's better teams. Just honestly, I think there's better teams than the Lakers. And with the situation and that card they've been dealt this year, I don't know if they get it together in time. And right now it's looking like you're going to have to play a super hot Denver team or another really, really good, or the Clippers team, a Clippers team that's built to beat you in the Western Conference. And I can easily see them losing those games or losing those series. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what goes on. And that was the NBA. All right, now 2 quick segments here. Before I finish up and go into the Roundup, and we end episode 39. Not as long as the past ones, but nonetheless, here we go. Combat sports. Had some 2 major events in combat sports: boxing, one in the MMA community. And we're going to start off with boxing. We had Andy Ruiz Jr. make his return against Chris Arreola. And, Ruiz Jr. gets it done. Chris started off very strong. Very, very strong. Knocked down Andy, I think, in the 2nd round. Made it very interesting. Fought a solid fight. But when Ruiz got comfortable, we saw those combinations landing. And he got the well-deserving win, the UD. I don't know if the scorecards were exactly right. But it was the right decision. Ruiz Jr. definitely deserved that UD. I would like to see him take on probably Wilder. I would like to see that Wilder fight, I guess, because of the 3 and the 4, I guess, if you're, ranking boxing right now. Since we have Joshua and Fury coming up now, finally, even though I heard they don't really have the deal for it, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm going to will it into existence. It has to happen. But for the meantime, I would like to see Ruiz Jr. versus Wilder. I guess if Usyk gets past his next opponent, maybe you see Ruiz versus Usyk. That could be a compelling matchup. But yeah, I think Ruiz Jr. under Eddie, once again, trainer of the year, Eddie Reynoso's direction, I think he looked a lot better. He looked a lot better conditioning-wise. Wasn't his best performance, but again, you saw some of the development there, and I think it's going to help him being with Eddie and long-term, that phrase, development, because he really does have some talent, His hands, for somebody that big, his hands are so fast, so sharp. So, yeah, shout out to Andy on the win. Shout out to Chris on a great performance. Did a great job. In the UFC, we had UFC Vegas 25. In the main events, ladies and gentlemen, we had Dominic Reyes make his return. He took on Jiri, one of the hottest rising fighters in the game right now, fresh off a Ryzen. He had the one fight before, destroyed an opponent. And ladies and gentlemen, he killed. He actually murdered Dom. First off, Jiri has one of the wildest styles I have ever seen in my life. He throws with reckless abandon, and it's just constant pressure. He also has a great chin, because he took some shots. I have to say, Dom didn't get, even though he got brutally knocked down, and he was, backing up, he fought very good. Did a great job on the counters. He was bringing the fight to Jiri, even though with the constant pressure, he was staying in there. But the pressure caught up, and then now just a spinning elbow in the way that Dom fell. It was just a brutal knockout. Jiri is a savage, an absolute savage. He's an actual samurai. And yeah, I think he's next up to the light heavyweight throne, or at least a shot at the light heavyweight throne. I think he's very deserving. I think that's the next matchup. Him versus the winner of John versus Glover. Definitely a matchup to make. Him versus John could be very interesting. With Jiri's style, though, he's not a great defensive fighter or a big-time defensive fighter. So, honestly, with the type of power and the type, as good as John is, if Jan connects with Jiri, I can see his lights getting turned off, if I'm being honest. But I think that'd be a very interesting fight. Not that Glover Teixeira needs to be underestimated. He's on a hell of a run right now in his career, a career-defining run right now. And we'll see if he can take out Jan and pull off the upset. But yeah, Jiri, absolute monster. If you haven't seen that knockout, go do it. It's an absolute treat. If you can see that whole fight somewhere, please go do that, actually, because it was a great fight. For two rounds it was a very, very exciting fight. Shout out to Jiri. Hopefully Dom can get it together. I know he's on a little bit of a losing streak, but he's honestly not a bad fighter. He's just been brutally knocked out back-to-back times, and he's faced some of the best light heavyweights had to offer. So, yeah. Not a cuttable offense, though, so he's up there now. Now for the MLB, and really this segment this week is about some players that are absolutely on fire so far to start the season. And, I've talked about the Angels a lot this season because of Shohei Ohtani, but I have to pay my respects to the best player on planet Earth, the best player in the universe. I can't say the universe because, who knows what's out there. But at least the best player on planet Earth, and that is Mike Trout. From the continuous race to becoming one of the greatest players of all time, Trout is up hitting a career best for a month, 412, and 7 home runs to start the season. He's truly looked like the best player on the planet. Yeah, Trout, hot. He's looking better than ever. Don't know how he continues to get better. Looks like it's going to be another MVP caliber season for the best player in the world. Byron Buxton, former number 1 overall prospect, once thought of, I can't say really generational, but he was pretty close. He was kind of like a fringe generational elite prospect. He was number 1 prospect in the MLB for quite a while. Byron Buxton was, and yeah, he's living up to that promise this year. It took a little while, but at age 27, Buxton is playing like many expected Buxton to play. He himself is hitting 408 and was ahead of Trout on the batting average lane for a little bit. Buxton is also 8 home runs. I think that's tied for third in the league right now. He's second in an OPS. Buxton off to a great start for the Twins, looking like that franchise player he was supposed to be. And to conclude this very short MLB segment here, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., another top prospect. It was a week of top prospects. If you were a former number 1 overall prospect, it was a great week. Trout, Buxton, now I'm talking about Vladdy. Vladdy with the 3 home run game against the Indians. Shout out to Vlad Sr. He was very happy about it. But yeah, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. lost the weight. He's looking a lot better. We know 80 hit tool. Came out with an 80 hit tool, which if you do not follow baseball, that's the highest mark you can get as a prospect, is an 80 hit tool. And yeah, he's starting to show off that bat. He's moving around a lot better, looking better defensively. Could be a breakout season for Vladdy, and we could see him start to play at that level we expect him to be at, with the guys like Acuna and Tatis Jr., all of the great young stars in the league. It's a great time for baseball. Honestly, it's a great time for baseball. Seems to be a little bit of a revolution going on here with the young players. It's a new era, and it's a very exciting era. It's been a very exciting baseball season so far. I know a lot of people are like the length of the game and all that, but honestly, some of the baseball games I've watched have been very, very exciting so far. So that's been good. Y'all gotta stop striking out though. Most strikeouts ever in a month to start the season. Yeah, too many strikeouts. Y'all gotta clean that up though. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I have reached the roundup here for episode 39. And we're going to start off here with the Kentucky Derby. Yes, horse racing's crown jewel race was on Saturday, and Medina Spirit gets it done. Bob Baffert, the GOAT, the absolute GOAT. Bob Baffert is the GOAT horse racing trainer. Best ever, his 8th, I believe, 8th or 7th or 8th Kentucky Derby win. He's the best of all time. He did it again. Medina Spirit, we'll see how she does at the Preakness and of course the Belmont. And yeah, solid start though. It looked very strong. Honestly, that was a very exciting Kentucky Derby as well. With the finish, that was a great last stretch, last quarter mile. It was very exciting to watch. So yeah, want to watch the replay of that? Feel free to do it. Medina Spirit looks like a very strong horse. We'll see if he can keep the momentum going. Sir Lewis Hamilton got the win in Portugal over Max Verstappen in Formula One. He wins the Porto Grand Prix. Second win of the season for Lewis. I think that was his 97th career win in F1. Yeah, what do we expect? Lewis, best in the world. He got that Sir in front of his name for a reason. And yeah, we'll see if he continues to put up another championship caliber and extend his F1 record of championships. We'll see if he can keep it going. Max looked very good this year. Can he break through, knock off Lewis in some of these races, make it interesting? He's only 9 points behind so far, but still very early in F1. But congratulations to Sir Lewis. And in the NHL, I have to give a shout out to my American and the reigning, defending, newly minted Hobie Baker. For those that don't know, is the Heisman Trophy. The Hobie Baker is the Heisman Trophy of college hockey. And Cole Caufield of Wisconsin won it. But he is now with his NHL team that he drafted him, the Montreal Canadiens. And he got his first goal in overtime against the Ottawa Senators. So shout out to Caufield, one of the most exciting players in the league. I think he has the potential to be, love to watch him. He's a treat to watch. And yeah, shout out to Cole Caufield on a great day. Well, not a great debut, but a great first goal. Huge in overtime. Doesn't really get much bigger than that. The fans love him. I know he's a little undersized, but he's going to put on for us Shut Kings and for us Americans in hockey. Trust. Big trust. And yeah, without further ado, I believe that covers all of my notes. And yeah, as always, leave any feedback on everything I talked about, anything you want to hear me talk about. At the Buzzer should be back next week. Episode 40. 11 episodes away from episode 50. Maybe I do something big for episode 50. I don't know. But yeah, I hope you guys had a great week. It's about to be finals week for my college students, or it is finals week, so good luck to you. Here at UNC Charlotte, it starts on Friday, so that's going to be an interesting one. And yeah, next week's episode is the last in the 704 for a while. I will miss the city. I will miss my home away from home, but gotta go back to the borough, handle some things. Of course, the podcast is going nowhere. We'll be back live from the 336, but we're still in 704, so I'm gonna enjoy while it's done. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed episode 39. Should be an interesting week. See if the chaos continues. Ocho, signing off.